like, I will purchase this. Like, this will be something I'll own. But, yeah, there was a struggle there, like, especially even 5 years after the fact on Amazon.
Yeah, it took a while. It really did take a while for me to start watching Benoit again.
Yeah.
Like, once
I had two of his wrestling figures. I threw them both in a dumpster. I know. I mean, that might be sacrilege now, but that's what I did.
Well, I mean, at the time I could understand. Like, it's totally understandable. You feel betrayed by a hero. Like, I would have been mad if you, like,
especially after the
that
Raw
shit.
special. Especially after the Raw special. Well, I didn't want to profit off of him, too. That was the other thing. I was like, fuck him, he's dead to me, you know?
Yeah. No, I totally saw it.
To be fair, I
understand.
See what, Thomas?
We all grieved in our own way.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
It was really rough. It took me about 2 or 3 years myself to finally watch a Benoit match again. But, you know, it was just as good as I remembered it being. And, yeah, I definitely fought with the emotional conflict of, oh, this is so fucked up. I can't believe he did this. Oh, this is such a good match. Like, it was a real internal battle.
It's weird to watch Nancy now, too. You know, like watching her as a woman at different times in a different way, obviously. You don't sit there and well, maybe some people do. I don't know. I don't sit there and look at her like, you piece of shit. You know, I can't believe you did this. I look at Nancy like, God, this was horrible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
By the way, and Brittany, I know you'll have some comments on this. You know, you realize after her death, there's all sorts of people trying to slut-shame her and stuff, you know, saying that, you know, she sucked all the boys off in Florida and all this shit. And it's like, what does that have to do with anything that happened?
Exactly.
Everybody's trying to justify. It's everybody trying to justify a reason why he did it.
Exactly. Guys chimed in even before me. That's awesome. But, like, no, it's like the same thing with, like, Christy. It's like the same thing as, like, Kirstie Mack and fucking War Machine kind of thing. Oh, she was a porn star, so she fucking deserved it. It's like, no, like, hold on, wait the fuck a second. This is a fucking person.
That's garbage. He tried to murder her.
He did. Mm-hmm. He tried to fucking murder her. And then still throw her under a fucking bus. Like, she had to have facial reconstructive surgery, like, all sorts of stuff. She barely escaped with her life, you know what I mean? But that's what he did. He used that as his reason. She had rape fantasies. I'm going to blame a fetish, which is a fetish, which is a fantasy, which is not fucking real, and she's a porn star. And so it's like, no, but it's the same concept. It's like, I have a lot of friends in the adult work, you know what I mean? Like, I wrestle a lot in Oakland, so the Armory is like a hop, skip, and a jump away. So we have a lot of BDSM to top it off, like porn stars that come to see us. And all of them are very, very, very sweet, amazing people for the most part. And, like, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, how dare you, like, judge somebody like that? Like, in all honesty, I think everybody's sluts. We all whore our bodies out for fucking paychecks. But, we
I was thinking the same thing, actually.
She's not wrong.
No, when I walked into pro wrestling, I was 15 years old when I first started training. And my trainer looks at me, and he looks at my best friend who was 16. And he goes, I'm just going to let you know, as pro wrestlers, you're prostitutes. Don't get me wrong, you're not going to be fucking anybody. But your job is to make people happy with your bodies and make a paycheck.
Yep.
That's exactly what
that's true in every.
It's two sides of the same coin, pretty much, you know.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So it's like no, like that is not a thing. Like I guess being in California too, I'm extremely liberal. Like I'm very much so like you should be able to walk butt naked down a street, and it shouldn't be a thing. It should be a consensual, like if I want you to touch me, you can touch me. If I don't say you can touch me, don't fucking touch me. Like
as long as
if
you walk down the street naked, as long as I can eye fuck you, we're good. Okay.
Just don't say anything. Like you can look. Like just don't be fucking creepy about it. You can appreciate the female form. You can appreciate the human form. Yeah.
I'm not a toucher without permission, but I would eye fuck somebody who's not walking down the street naked. I'm just saying.
No, exactly. But as long as you're like, hey, have a nice day, you know what I mean? That's a whole nother thing. Like, it makes it a whole nice level of creepy. For a reason. No, just jerk off afterwards. It's the same thing with wrestling. You can watch my matches, but just don't tell me you jerk off to them. And don't do it during the show.
Do that shit in private like a normal person.
It did it. No, I'm horrible on podcasts. I don't know where we are anymore.
I don't know what they're doing anymore.
Okay. Just a quick example, though, with the slut-shaming thing. I worked at a pro wrestling show, actually, at a sex festival in San Francisco. It's called the Folsom Street Fair, and Hood Slam was invited. We wrestled maybe 200 feet from a bondage display. And there's butt plugs, people are naked, there's boobies, there's flogging, and then there's us wrestling, like, as I said, right next door. And we're surrounded by naked people in all sorts of forms. Like, some people have boobies out, some people have just vag out, some people are butt naked. I met Naked Batman. There's actually a picture on my Instagram. That's a really awkward story. But, it's a consent thing. They actually gave out even, like, badges, like, I consent. Take a picture of me, it's cool. If I don't say it's okay, it's not okay. Touch me, it's okay. If I don't say it's okay, it's not okay. So I don't know. Slut-shaming to me is just the most ridiculous ideal ever. And John,
just to bring it back on track, though, back to the whole, Benoit's wife blowing people thing. Could it be another just instance of somebody trying to blame a victim sort of thing?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
even people who are saying domestic violence is the issue. I mean, he killed his son, too. Jesus Christ. You know what I mean?
Like,
that's the thing.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they're just a lot of people just go out of their way to find a reason not to full-heartedly, like Chris Benoit did it.
Yeah.
Like, people just want to sleep good at night.
It sucks.
It sucks, but they have to at some point come to terms with it. Like, we all, because right now we're all still coming to terms with the fact, because we are. Like, pro wrestling, we don't forget. Just like we brought up Owen Hart so far, like, we don't forget the loss. It's just
I wanted to bring this up to you guys, because it was kind of the follow-up to the WWE Network thing and all those questions about what WWE did. So nowadays, whenever you see wrestlers talking about who their influences are, inevitably you always hear Eddie Guerrero. And I'm not taking anything away from Eddie Guerrero. He was the man. But don't you think if Chris Benoit hadn't done this, there would be so many more wrestlers on 205 Live or Cruiserweight Classic or whatever saying, yeah, Chris Benoit was my influence, but you don't ever hear that now, obviously.
Absolutely. Yeah, there'd be a ton of them.
Yeah.
I mean, you can watch some of them work and see that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Daniel Bryan would have flat out said 100% if Chris Benoit didn't do that sort of thing, one of his influences, the crippler, it would have happened. Because what was one of Bryan's signatures, in the E at least, was a diving headbutt off the top.
Yeah.
All right, so whether you have kids or you don't have kids, I don't know that Thomas has a kid. I know that. Sorry, I don't mean to put you on blast. I don't know if anybody else does, but if you do, 10, 20 years from now, whenever it may be, if they bring up to you, I was watching WWE Network. I just kind of want to use this as our sign-off on the whole thing. I was watching WWE Network, and I want to hear an explanation from each one of you. And I saw this guy, Chris Benoit. He was really awesome. How would you explain Chris Benoit and who he was, individually? And I guess I'll just start off in kind of in order with Thomas first.
Well, I've always been the type of person to be upfront and honest, so I'd probably explain to them, the good things about their career, and if they ask me what happened, I would tell them. But I'd want them to inquire. Like, I wouldn't just, oh, he's dead now. He killed his entire family. Like, I wouldn't do that. Mm-hmm. But I would want Piper, my daughter, to, learn about the people that inspired her father, learn about the people who her father looked up to at one point and, help shape his career. And I'd try to enforce it positively, at least.
Yeah.
Until, of course, the question was asked.
Yeah. So basically, you kind of highlight the positives and then say, but this happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, what about you, Zodiac?
I'm along the same lines. I mean, I'm pretty upfront with stuff and honest. Like, if
I'd probably do about the same thing. Just let them know the aspects of the career and this and that and everything else. And if they bring up, like, well, what happened to him, just let them know and be honest with him about it. But, like, he did some horrible things. Some stuff happened because of his lifestyle. This is what happened. Hopefully we can learn something from it about what not to do in the future and how to better take care of yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
The guys that ask me about matches and this and that and things to watch, I still reference some of the Chris Benoit matches and stuff if I think it'll fit their style and what they're doing. One of my go-tos is the Benoit Regal match from the Tillman show. It's one of my favorite matches. That's how I got started actually watching this stuff again. It was in my recommended playlist on YouTube one day at random. I was like, oh shit, look at this. But yeah, I'm pretty blunt about stuff and upfront. I don't believe in sugarcoating much.
Yeah. And how about you, Kong?
Pretty much the same thing. I'd probably even bring up Hulk Hogan and the things that he's been wrestling with for these last couple of years. Hulk Hogan as a human being he may not be on the level that I feel like he should be, but Hulk Hogan as the wrestler that I watched growing up is still a hero. So Chris Benoit, in my mind, as a pro wrestler, is still a hero, and I would portray him as that, but then bring it around, by saying that he's human, and like all humans do, everybody falls short, and we all make mistakes and do bad things, and have to deal with different issues. Everybody has their cross to bear. So.
Yeah. All right, David, I'll let you go, and then it's Brittany.
All right, so I don't have kids, but I have an 11-year-old cousin who loves wrestling, and he always asks me questions all the time about certain people and everything, and I agree with everybody else where it's like, all right, I'm blunt with certain things, but however with him, because he's autistic, I kind of have to, I have to tread carefully on how I say certain things, because, I don't know, just with him, I'm very protective. So, like, from my recollection, I don't believe Benoit is in the WWE Encyclopedia, and I got him that for his birthday. But he had heard the name somewhere, and he's like, who is this Chris Benoit guy? And I just had to answer, like, he was one of the best wrestlers who ever lived. And then, he's like, well, why haven't I heard of him? And I said, well, just he's not mentioned much, and which is true, Then he asks what happened to him, and I just said he died. And I know a lot of times he'll repeat questions, weeks, months later down the line. When he gets a little older, maybe I'll tread into it, but for now, all he needs to know is that, and this is the way that I firmly believe, that Chris Benoit was one of the greatest wrestlers to ever live, to ever perform in the ring. And he died. So right now, that's all he needs to know. And, when he gets older, maybe we'll have this conversation of, separate the person in the ring from the person who did these awful things. But for now, that's the way I leave it. And if I had kids and they all got into wrestling too, and they asked about Chris Benoit, I would likely respond in the same exact way.
And Brittany?
I don't have I don't have any kids. I have cats.
But explain it to your cats then.
But I do have a 3-year-old niece, and she started liking wrestling before. She knew I was a wrestler, never saw me wrestle, but saw stuff on TV. Started emulating my moves, which was really weird. But so eventually, we're built exactly the same. It's all thighs and butt. But I eventually expect her to ask me, about wrestling and who I like and things like that, because she's a very talkative child. She likes to watch wrestling as it is. And I do feel like I'm probably going to handle it the same way as David at first. And as she gets older, and I know she'll start asking more questions when I feel like she's an appropriate age to actually grasp what happened, including, scar tissue on the brain, concussions, things like that. I will thoroughly explain to her, what happened, because that's how my parents handled things with me. If I didn't understand something, they would summarize it, and then as I got older, they would fully explain it. And that's how I would handle it. But